The courtyard of Ryoshin Temple trembled with silence as dawn light stretched across the worn stone. Master Hoshin said, "Kai has strayed from the path." The seeker Kai froze, his breath shallow, shame crashing like thunder within his chest. The fellow disciple Ren watched with widened eyes, sensing the world tilt. The skeptic Daichi smirked faintly, his cynicism hiding a flicker of unease. The silent witness Aiko stood motionless by the temple gate, her presence grounding the moment. The catalyst Sora appeared briefly at the edge of the courtyard, his cloak fluttering like a whisper from another world. The shadow of Kai's past lingered unseen, pressing against his thoughts. The temple bells chimed, their sound slicing through Kai's turmoil. A breeze stirred the cherry blossoms, scattering petals like broken promises. The courtyard, once a place of peace, now felt like a battlefield of the soul. Kai wandered beyond the temple walls as clouds thickened overhead. His steps dragged across wet earth, each one echoing the weight of Master Hoshin's words. The mountain path curved sharply, revealing distant peaks shrouded in mist. Ren's worried voice lingered in his memory, urging patience. But Kai's chest tightened with anger, shame, and confusion. The trees whispered like old spirits, their branches swaying as if to mock his turmoil. A sudden gust scattered fallen petals across the path, brushing against his sandals. Daichi's mocking smirk flashed in his mind, stoking his wounded pride. Above, crows circled, their cries sharp against the brewing storm. A faint temple bell rang in the distance, haunting and cold. Kai pressed forward, his robes heavy with dew. Daichi leaned casually against the wooden railing, overlooking the koi pond, his smirk sharp as a blade. He said, "Even your devotion couldn't save you, Kai." His voice dripped with irony, though a flicker of doubt clouded his eyes. Kai's fists tightened beneath his sleeves, breath trembling. The pond rippled as koi darted beneath the surface, the disturbance mirroring Kai's churning thoughts. Ren approached quietly, sensing tension but holding back words. Aiko watched from a distance, silent and steady, her presence a reminder of stillness. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of damp earth and blossoms. Daichi's smirk faltered for just a heartbeat before returning. Aiko stood beneath the temple gate, watching the wind weave through cherry trees. She did not speak, yet her steady gaze settled Kai's shaking breath. The bells chimed again, low and resonant. Kai paused, feeling her quiet presence cut through his storming thoughts. The blossoms swirled around them, their descent unhurried, like wisdom revealed only in silence. Ren lingered nearby, unsure whether to interrupt. Daichi, now distant, pretended disinterest though his eyes betrayed curiosity. In that still moment, the courtyard's noise faded, leaving only the whisper of falling petals. Aiko's hands remained folded, an anchor in a world tilting. As dusk approached, a figure appeared at the edge of the temple grounds, Sora, the wandering traveler. His cloak fluttered like restless shadows as he whispered, "Paths lost are merely paths unwalked." His words cut through the evening breeze, stirring unease and wonder. Kai turned, startled, his heart pounding with a strange recognition. The horizon burned orange against encroaching night, petals drifting like sparks. Daichi watched from afar, his smirk gone, replaced by quiet thought. Ren stepped closer, drawn by the mystery of Sora's presence. Aiko, ever silent, let her eyes follow the stranger as if she had expected him. Night deepened in the meditation hall as flickering lantern light painted trembling shadows on the wooden floor. Kai knelt alone, his mind unraveling under the weight of Master Hoshin's words. The silence pressed in, broken only by the faint hiss of the wind through paper screens. He remembered Ren's gentle counsel and Daichi's cutting smirk, both echoing painfully in his thoughts. Kai whispered into the stillness, "What am I if I cannot follow the path?" His heart pounded like a drum of doubt, each beat louder than the storm outside. Cherry petals, carried on a stray breeze, slipped through a crack and landed before him, fragile reminders of impermanence. The temple seemed to breathe, ancient timbers creaking like old spirits. Outside, Distant thunder rolled a warning from the mountains. Ren found Kai outside beneath a canopy of swaying branches, the storm clouds breaking just enough to reveal a sliver of moonlight. Ren's voice trembled but held compassion as he said, "Pain does not mean failure, Kai." Kai looked up, eyes glistening, the wind tugging at his robe sleeves. The mountain air smelled of rain-soaked earth and distant pine. Daichi's laughter echoed in Kai's memory, stoking a fresh wave of doubt. Aiko watched from afar, her silence offering strength. The koi pond shimmered faintly in the dim light, ripples dancing like fleeting thoughts. Above them, the storm hesitated, as if listening. Ren's words hung between them like a fragile bridge across Kai's despair. Sleep eluded Kai as memories of childhood failure clawed their way into his mind. In his dreams, the temple faded, replaced by a younger Kai standing in a rain-soaked village square. He heard the accusing whispers of forgotten faces, their words sharp as knives. The shadow of his past emerged from the darkness, a haunting silhouette that mirrored his despair. Thunder cracked, merging dream and reality, jolting him awake in a cold sweat. The meditation hall felt suddenly vast and empty, its silence deafening. Kai pressed his palms together, breath shaky, trying to ground himself. Outside, the wind sighed through cedar branches, whispering of unresolved pain. Daichi cornered Kai near the temple's outer steps as dawn painted the sky with pale gold. His tone was sharp as he said, "Your devotion looks fragile now." Kai clenched his fists, the chill of morning air biting at his skin. Ren stepped closer, but hesitated, unsure whether to intervene. The wind tugged at Daichi's dark robes, scattering the last of the storm's petals across the worn stone. Aiko's steady gaze from the veranda anchored the tense exchange. Far off, a lone temple bell tolled, its sound echoing like a reminder of impermanence. Kai's anger flared, yet beneath it was the ache of shame. Daichi's smirk wavered for a fleeting second, betraying his own doubt. Master Hoshin sat beneath the ancient pine, as morning light broke fully over the mountains. His calm voice cut through Kai's unrest as he said, "Expectations are the heaviest chains." Kai knelt before him, stunned by the words. The scent of wet earth and pine filled the crisp air. Ren stood nearby, his hands clasped tightly, silently rooting for Kai. Daichi lingered in the distance, his face unreadable now. Aiko observed quietly, her presence steady as a stone. The breeze carried a single cherry blossom across the clearing, landing on Kai's shoulder like a whisper. The temple behind them seemed to hold its breath. Hoshin's gaze was gentle yet unyielding, a mirror to the truth Kai feared. Morning mist clung to the temple gardens as Master Hoshin summoned Kai to the central courtyard. The ancient stones were slick with dew, and cherry blossoms trembled on their branches. Master Hoshin's voice was steady as he said, "Your next task is to solve the unsolvable." Kai bowed, confusion flickering in his eyes. Ren stood at a respectful distance, concern etched on his face. Daichi leaned against a pillar, a faint smirk teasing his lips. Aiko's calm presence steadied the space, her silent gaze unwavering. Sora's earlier cryptic words echoed faintly in Kai's memory. The wind whispered through the trees, and the mountains loomed like silent judges over the unfolding moment. Kai sat cross-legged beneath the cherry trees, the impossible koan echoing through his mind. His breath came uneven as each attempt to grasp meaning slipped through his fingers like smoke. Ren approached quietly, offering a cup of tea, his gentle gesture grounding the moment. Daichi's laughter drifted faintly from the temple steps, a sharp reminder of failure. Aiko observed from afar, her eyes reflecting understanding without judgment. The sky had cleared, leaving brilliant blue framed by pink blossoms. Master Hoshin's words haunted the breeze, "Break before you can be whole." Kai's hands trembled as he whispered the riddle to himself again, desperate for clarity. The temple chores had begun, but tension simmered. Daichi deliberately dropped a bundle of firewood near Kai, the loud crack echoing across the courtyard. He said with a smirk, "Even wood obeys better than you." Kai's face flushed, anger flaring despite his effort to remain composed. Ren froze, torn between stepping in and holding back. Aiko paused her sweeping, her calm gaze urging restraint. The mountain air was crisp, the sun climbing higher, casting long shadows across the stone. Cherry petals drifted lazily, their grace mocking Kai's turmoil. Somewhere deep within, Sora's whispered warning stirred again. Master Hoshin's absence weighed on them all. Ren found Kai sitting on the temple steps, the weight of the failed koan heavy on his shoulders. The sunset painted the mountains in orange and violet hues. Ren said softly, "Even still water once stirred was wild." Kai looked up, searching for meaning in the words. Daichi watched from afar, pretending disinterest yet listening intently. Aiko quietly swept the courtyard, her presence a reminder of patience. The wind carried the faint scent of pine and earth, a grounding aroma against Kai's swirling doubt. The temple bells rang slowly, their deep tone filling the valley like a heartbeat. A single blossom landed on Kai's lap, fragile yet whole. That night, the wind whispered through Kai's dreams, and the shadow emerged again, its faceless form looming over a field of falling blossoms. In his vision, the temple seemed distant, unreachable. The shadow moved closer, a silent mirror of fear and regret. Kai's breath quickened as memories of his past failures replayed in flashes. Distant thunder rumbled, though the sky above was star-streaked and clear. Ren's voice echoed faintly in his memory, offering calm. Daichi's mocking laughter blurred into the sound of the wind. Aiko's silent gaze appeared like a lantern in the darkness. The field of blossoms began to glow, revealing a path toward the distant temple gates. The courtyard shimmered under a pale moon when Sora stepped from the shadows once more. His cloak swayed like restless wind as he whispered, "Truth waits where you least wish to look." Kai turned sharply, startled by his sudden appearance. The temple's lanterns flickered, their light bending in the night breeze. Ren, returning from evening chores, froze mid-step, sensing the air change. Aiko watched from the veranda, her steady eyes unreadable. Daichi lingered in the far corner, curiosity flickering beneath his mask of indifference. Master Hoshin's presence seemed to hover in the silence, though unseen. The mountains stood silent and ancient, their peaks kissed by moonlight. At dawn, Master Hoshin gathered them beneath the ancient pine. His voice was gentle yet unyielding as he said, "Your suffering is born of expectation, not failure." Kai's chest tightened as realization flickered. Ren lowered his gaze, humbled by the words. Daichi's smirk faltered, replaced by a shadow of doubt. Aiko swept a stray petal from the ground, her movements deliberate and calm. Sora's earlier message echoed faintly in the wind, weaving with the temple bells. The morning air was crisp, the scent of cedar and wet earth lingering. The mountains blushed with the first light, their peaks blazing gold. Kai stood alone at the edge of the koi pond, the rippling water mirroring the storm within him. The morning sun broke fully through the clouds, illuminating every stone and petal. He whispered, "The chains. They were always my own." A koi leapt, scattering droplets that sparkled like tiny stars. Ren's reflection appeared beside him, silent but supportive. Aiko's shadow stretched across the water, her presence a quiet anchor. Daichi lingered nearby, his expression uncertain, the weight of Hoshin's words settling in. The wind carried the faint sound of temple bells, a reminder of truth's reveal. Above them, the mountains stood eternal and calm. Daichi sat on the stone wall, his smirk gone, eyes distant as the weight of Master Hoshin's lesson sank in. The late afternoon sun painted the courtyard in long shadows. Ren watched him quietly, sensing a shift. Kai approached slowly, unsure whether to speak, the sound of his sandals soft on the stones. Aiko swept fallen petals near the veranda, her calm presence steady. The mountain breeze carried the scent of cedar and rain-washed earth, a reminder of impermanence. Sora's earlier words echoed faintly in the wind, stitching themselves into Daichi's unraveling certainty. A single bell chimed, low and haunting, like a heartbeat in the silence. As dusk settled, Aiko placed her broom aside and raised her gaze to the glowing horizon. The silent witness stepped forward, her eyes meeting Kai's across the courtyard. Kai felt the truth settle within him like a stone sinking into still water. Ren exhaled quietly, a small hopeful smile forming. Daichi turned away, unsure but no longer mocking. Sora's presence lingered in the fading light, a ghost of wisdom on the breeze. Master Hoshin emerged from the shadows, silent but watchful, his calm demeanor radiating understanding. The wind stirred the blossoms, scattering them across the stones as the temple bells sang their low, resonant song. A violent storm swept over Ryoshin Temple, thunder splitting the sky. Kai staggered across the rain-slicked courtyard, his heart breaking beneath the weight of his failure. Lightning flashed, illuminating his trembling form. Ren watched from the temple doorway, his face pale with worry. Daichi stood in the shadows, his usual smirk gone, replaced by quiet awe. Aiko moved silently, her gaze calm despite the chaos. Master Hoshin appeared at the edge of the storm's fury, his robes soaked but his stance unshaken. Sora's whisper seemed carried on the wind, "Let go or be broken." The bells groaned under the tempest, echoing Kai's despair. Kai collapsed to his knees in the courtyard, rain pooling around him. His voice cracked as he whispered, "I surrender." The storm raged, but within the noise, a profound stillness blossomed in his chest. Ren stepped forward, hesitant but moved by the raw vulnerability before him. Daichi's eyes widened, the mask of arrogance crumbling. Aiko bowed her head slightly, acknowledging the turning point. Master Hoshin remained silent, his gaze unwavering, as if the universe itself had shifted. A single blossom torn from a branch landed on Kai's shoulder, glowing softly in the lightning's flare. The temple bells answered with a deep, resonant toll. The storm softened as if bowing to the moment. Master Hoshin stepped closer, his soaked robes heavy but his expression light. He placed a steady hand on Kai's shoulder without a word. Kai lifted his gaze, tears mingling with rain, and felt the crushing weight lift from his spirit. Ren exhaled, relief loosening his rigid stance. Daichi turned away briefly, hiding the emotion flickering in his eyes. Aiko's presence radiated calm acceptance. Sora's whisper faded into the distant thunder, leaving only the sound of rain and the temple bells. The mountains loomed quietly, guardians to the transformation unfolding. The storm's last droplets clung to the temple eaves as Kai rose from the wet stones. The shadow appeared in his mind's eye, its faceless form dissolving like mist. Kai whispered, "I forgive the past." Ren watched, awe softening his features. Daichi lowered his head, the sharpness in his eyes replaced by humility. Aiko's serene smile glowed like a lantern in twilight. Master Hoshin stood silently, his presence steady and warm. The mountain air smelled of rain-washed earth and cedar. Cherry blossoms, battered but whole, trembled on the branches. Sora's voice seemed distant now, a fading echo of challenge. The bells rang slowly, marking rebirth. As dawn broke, a golden light washed the temple grounds. Master Hoshin stepped forward, his eyes shining with quiet pride. Without words, he placed a hand over Kai's heart. Kai breathed deeply, peace settling like sunlight over still water. Ren exhaled, a smile breaking through his lingering worry. Daichi looked away, hiding a small flicker of respect. Aiko clasped her hands, her presence as steadfast as the mountains. Sora's presence lingered on the breeze, a final whisper of guidance. Cherry blossoms danced in the soft wind, their petals radiant against the morning sky. The bells tolled, echoing across the valley, heralding transformation. The morning after the storm, Ryoshin Temple breathed serenity. Kai walked slowly through the temple grounds, the world seeming sharper and more vibrant. Dew sparkled on every blade of grass, each droplet a universe of light. Master Hoshin's distant gaze followed him, silent approval in his eyes. Ren stepped from the walkway, his face breaking into a gentle smile. Daiichi watched quietly, his usual cynicism softened by wonder. Aiko knelt to collect fallen petals, her movements deliberate and reverent. The bells chimed softly, their song blending with birdsong. Sora's voice lingered in the breeze, now less a challenge, more a farewell. The mountains glowed, guardians of new beginnings. Ren approached Kai under the flowering cherry tree, his voice gentle. "You look lighter today," he said. Kai paused, breathing in the fresh air, and smiled faintly. Daiichi leaned against a nearby pillar, pretending disinterest, though his eyes lingered thoughtfully. Aiko swept the walkway nearby, her quiet movements offering calm. Master Hoshin stood at the garden's edge, a faint curve on his lips, pride hidden in restraint. The koi pond reflected a flawless sky, ripples dancing with the breeze. Sora's absence was felt like a warm memory. The world seemed to hum with harmony, as though even the stones recognized the shift. Daiichi lingered by the temple steps, his eyes following Kai with a strange new respect. The wind carried the scent of pine and distant rain. Ren joined him, saying quietly, "He's changed." Daiichi's smirk returned, but only faintly, masking the unease of self-reflection. Aiko passed by with her broom, her calm presence grounding the moment. Master Hoshin watched from afar, as though seeing the seeds of understanding sprout. Kai paused at the edge of the courtyard, closing his eyes to the sunlight on his face. The bells tolled once, their sound deep and full, echoing through the mountains. Sora's echo was gone, replaced by quiet promise. Kai stood with Master Hoshin near the ancient pine as afternoon sunlight dappled the courtyard. The air was warm, carrying the scent of cedar. Master Hoshin spoke softly. "The world outside is unchanged, yet you see it differently." Kai bowed deeply, gratitude shining in his eyes. Ren watched nearby, his heart lifting at the sight. Daiichi remained at the temple steps, his guarded expression giving way to curiosity. Aiko knelt by the pond, her reflection steady and clear. Sora's absence was a quiet hum in the wind, a reminder of lessons earned. The bells chimed faintly, their tone blending with birdsong. As evening descended, Kai walked the temple grounds, every sound alive with meaning. He touched the wooden railing, feeling its worn grooves like old scars healed. Ren joined him quietly, their steps in harmony. Daiichi followed at a distance, his thoughts unreadable but softened. Aiko sat beneath the cherry tree, her eyes reflecting the fading light. Master Hoshin stood near the temple gate, his gaze fixed on the horizon. The mountains darkened against a glowing sky, the air cool and clean. The bells rang once more, their sound lingering like a heartbeat. Sora's memory drifted away, leaving only peace. The sun sank behind the mountains, spilling gold and crimson across the sky. Kai stood on a ridge beyond Ryoshin Temple, the world below bathed in twilight. The wind teased his robe's sleeves as he breathed deeply, sensing a profound stillness. Master Hoshin watched from a distance, his expression calm and proud. Ren approached quietly, unwilling to disturb the peace but longing to share it. Daiichi lingered farther back, his smirk long gone, replaced by contemplation. Aiko stood beneath a cherry tree, her hands folded gently. The bells echoed faintly across the valley, their song mingling with birds returning to their nests. A single cherry blossom detached from its branch and drifted downward. Kai reached out, catching the fragile petal on his palm. He whispered a silent promise to honor the path ahead. Ren stood nearby, eyes glistening with quiet emotion. Daiichi shifted uncomfortably, humbled by the moment. Aiko's calm gaze softened even further, her presence a silent blessing. Master Hoshin closed his eyes briefly, savoring the stillness. The mountains darkened as stars began to pierce the sky. The faint ring of the bells carried on the evening breeze, a gentle reminder that nothing is truly lost. As twilight deepened, the air grew still. From nowhere, Sora's voice whispered on the wind, "You were never lost." Kai felt a shiver of awe, the words sinking deep into his heart. Ren glanced at him, recognizing the shift without needing explanation. Daiichi lowered his head, silently absorbing the truth. Aiko closed her eyes, her lips curving in a faint smile. Master Hoshin's gaze lingered on the horizon, a flicker of satisfaction crossing his features. The valley below glowed faintly under the first stars, and the temple bells rang once, soft and clear. The world itself seemed to pause in quiet affirmation. The wind softened as night embraced the mountains. Kai stood at the ridge's edge, the world quiet but alive beneath the stars. He whispered, "I am here." Ren stepped closer, his eyes shining with understanding. Daiichi remained a few steps behind, his guarded heart shifting under the weight of humility. Aiko watched them from under the cherry tree, her stillness a silent benediction. Master Hoshin's presence felt vast and steady beside the ancient pine. The temple bells chimed again, their sound stretching across the valley like a thread between earth and sky. The stars burned brighter, as if acknowledging Kai's revelation. The camera of the universe seemed to pull back, revealing the temple nestled among the endless mountains. Kai stood still, his breath a quiet rhythm against the night air. Ren, Daiichi, Aiko and Master Hoshin formed a silent circle of shared understanding behind him. Cherry blossoms drifted upward in the wind, caught in starlight like tiny lanterns. The temple bells tolled once more, their sound carrying far beyond the valley. Sora's voice was gone now, leaving only peace. The mountains stretched toward infinity, and the stars shimmered as guardians of a journey without end. The world exhaled, holding its sacred silence.